looking to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. A new 6.3 earthquake rocking Turkey and Syria nearly 2 weeks after nearly 46,000 people are killed. In Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, police vowed to use any means necessary, including lethal force, to free an Australian academic archaeologist and 3 others kidnapped in the country's highlands. The UN chief strongly condemning North Korea's missile launches. And U.S. President Biden in a risky visit to Kiev. First in our news, twin earthquakes in Turkey. A 6.4 magnitude earthquake and a second measuring 5.8 have hit the southern province of Hatay, terrifying those left in a region devastated by twin earthquakes 2 weeks ago. Take a look. Now, Turkish Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu said 3 people were killed, 213 were taken to hospital, while in Syria, White Helmet said more than 130 people were injured and that some already damaged buildings had collapsed. An AFP journalist reported scenes of panic in Antakya, adding that the new tremors raised clouds of dust in the devastated city. The walls of badly damaged buildings crumbled, while several people, apparently injured, called for help. According to AFAD, more than 6,200 aftershocks have been recorded since the 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit Turkey and Syria, leaving millions homeless. Officials said after the February 6 quake that aftershocks would be felt for a year because of the force of the first tremor. Now, that earthquake killed 41,156 people in Turkey, 3,688 in Syria, but experts are expecting the toll to rise as the rubble is cleared and rescue operations end. Meanwhile, people are reacting after a new 6.4 earthquake was recorded in Turkey's southern province of Hatay, the hardest hit by a February 6 7.8 magnitude tremor, which left more than 40,000, almost nearly 46,000 dead in the country. Let's listen in.
Nasıl hissettin o an? Yani ne yaptın?
Abi binanın önündeydim. Ne uğradığımız yol dalga dalga geldi ya. Bina gitti geldi. Arabalar sağ sol yattı yani. Ayaklarımızın bağı çözüldü. Yani ilk deprem nasıl yaşadıysak şimdi daha kötüsünü yaşadım, hissettim. İlkinde şoktaydık. Bu olağanüstü bir şey çıktı. Yani yok yani Hatay güvenli değil bu artık bu saatten sonra. Bir sürü binaların yıkıldığını duyduk yani. Sesler, binaların çöktüğü sesleri duyduk.
Ne yapacaksın?
Yani bilmiyorum, bir gün ağırsın. Ne yapacağımı bilmiyorum. Ben zaten depremzedeyim yani, binam buradaydı. Arabada yatıp kalkıyordum yani bir 15 günden beri. Ama gün ağrıdıktan sonra ne yapabiliriz onu bilmiyorum yani, insanların durumu ne bilmiyoruz. Göz gözü görmüyoruz şu an. Bakalım artık.
İsim soy isim abi.
Mehmet Tırmak.
Yaşın?
34.
Mesleğin?
Noter katibi.
Çok teşekkür.
Now, the numbers just keep rising. At least 47,000 now people are estimated to have died across Turkey and Syria. Turkish Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu said 3 people were killed, 213 injured in the earthquake. Search and rescue efforts are underway in 3 collapsed buildings where 6 people were believed trapped. In Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea now, police vowed to use any means necessary, including lethal force, to free an Australian academic archaeologist and 3 others kidnapped in the country's highlands. Take a look. At least 4 academics and guides from Australia and Papua New Guinea were taken at gunpoint in the country's jungle-clad highlands early on Sunday. The captors initially issued a ransom demand of roughly $1 million, an enormous sum in one of the Pacific's poorest nations, before dropping the asking price and then abandoning a 24-hour deadline. PNG Prime Minister James Marape says authorities are in contact with the kidnappers and they hope to have the hostages released alive and safe. A larger group was initially taken captive, but some local guides have since been released, according to reports. Prime Minister James Marape said there were running conversations between officials and the kidnappers, and police and the military were on standby to assist. The Prime Minister did not say when the group was taken and said the situation had been kept under close wraps because of the sensitivity. But he sought to reassure families of the hostages, saying he's confident, he's optimistic, and he's prayerful that they can get them out. The leadership of the House of Representatives has expressed its full support for the immediate ratification by the Senate of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, agreement. In House Resolution 728, which supports the Senate's ratification of RCEP, Speaker Martin Romualdez said by immediately ratifying the RCEP agreement, the Philippines can sooner benefit and take the advantages of this mega trade deal that could attract more foreign investors, create more job opportunities, and curb unemployment and poverty rates in the country. In the resolution, lawmakers noted Trade Secretary Alfredo Pascual's statement that the tariff liberalization under the RCEP will make preferential market access easier for Philippine exporters, thereby allowing the country to capitalize on potential market gains. The authors also said the RCEP agreement will encourage foreign investments in the country and allow greater participation in the areas of digital services, business process outsourcing industry, financial services, aerospace, shipbuilding, research and development, plus many others. Now, one of the benefits of RCEP agreement is the reduction or elimination of import tariffs for products eligible for preferential tariffs treatment. Take a look.
One of the benefits of the RCEP agreement is the reduction or elimination of import tariffs for products eligible for preferential tariff treatment, satisfying the rules of origin requirement. To know your product's import tariff, you first need to identify its tariff classification, or HS code. You can do this by either 1. Checking the Tariff Finder or FTA portal of the RCEP countries, or the new ASEAN Tariff Finder, which is expected to be launched in the near future. 2. Consulting with government issuing authority or tariff classification experts. Or 3. Getting an advance ruling. Let's take a look at an example. Carolina is from the Philippines and planning to import rear-view mirrors from Vietnam. Based on the tariff schedules, Carolina will be charged with 20% duties for the first 3 years. But Carolina can enjoy a cheaper tariff from year 3 onwards. It is worth noting that some countries in the RCEP have the same tariffs for products imported from any RCEP countries. These countries only have one tariff schedule for the other 14 countries. This means that if you are importing a product into these countries from any RCEP country, you will be charged the same tariff. Other countries charge different import tariffs depending on the product's origin. These countries have more than one tariff schedule. This means you may pay different tariffs if you are importing honey into Indonesia from China or from Thailand. On the other hand, Singapore has made commitments to bind its zero tariffs under RCEP. If you are importing into any ASEAN member states, you should look at the schedules for ASEAN member states. Let's look at another example, where all goods and materials are eligible for the preferential rate under RCEP. Meet Grace, an entrepreneur based in Singapore producing packaged food. She imports mangoes from Thailand and sugar from China, processing them as dried mangoes to export to countries including Indonesia, Japan, and Cambodia. Since Singapore does not charge import duties, Grace can import the mangoes and sugar duty-free. But when exporting to Indonesia, Japan, and Cambodia, Grace's dried mangoes are subject to different tariffs. After finding the tariff classification for the product in these countries, Grace learns that her dried mangoes are subject to 20% import tariffs in Indonesia, 7% in Cambodia, and 0 in Japan. When importing into ASEP countries, always check the ASEP agreement and find out if and how you can enjoy reduced tariffs.
In tonight's other news, U.S. President Biden is now back in Poland, preparing to what's expected to be a powerful speech in support of Ukraine. Now that's after the risky and surprise visit to Kiev. Take a look.
Morning, Mr. President. Welcome. Thank you very much.
More importantly, how are the children?
No.
Президент України Володимир Зеленський та президент Сполучених Штатів Америки Джо Байден.
You know, 1 year later, Kyiv stands, and Ukraine stands. Democracy stands. The Americans stand with you, and the world stands with you. But Russia's aim was to wipe Ukraine off the map. Putin's war of conquest is failing. Russia's military has lost half its territory it once occupied. Young, talented Russians are fleeing by the tens of thousands, not wanting to come back to Russia.
Вважаю, що це великий друг України, тому я, як українка, дуже йому вдячна. Це така моральна підтримка і додає наснаги нашим людям боротися, жити і нарешті перемагати.
Тому що це хороший знак для українського народу, для української перемоги, для нас всіх про те, що президент Америки не може приїхати в державу, яка не переможе в цій війні. Тобто це дуже хороший знак для перемоги, для допомоги від Америки.
In another development, U.S. President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin are set to give dueling speeches today, promising two starkly different takes on Russia's Ukraine invasion. A day after the U.S. president's surprise visit to Kyiv, President Putin spoke in Moscow a few hours earlier, according to the Kremlin, delivering a State of the Nation address that's largely devoted to the conflict. Now, in previous addresses, he has railed against NATO's perceived threat to Russia and drawn on his country's history to buttress his rationale for launching the invasion and sticking with it in the face of unexpected Ukrainian resistance. When it was launched, the so-called special military operation was planned to be a rapid conquest, leading to capitulation and the installation of a pro-Russian regime. On Tuesday, China said it was deeply concerned about the war, which it said was intensifying and even getting out of control.
乌克兰危机全面升级已近1年，局势走向备受国际关注。中方对冲突不断加剧，甚至导致失控，深感忧虑。我们将继续劝和促谈，为政治解决乌克兰危机提供中国智慧，与国际社会一道，共同推动对话协商，解决各方关切，谋求共同安全。
According to the latest estimates from Norway, the conflict has wounded or killed 180,000 Russian soldiers and 100,000 Ukrainian troops. Other Western sources estimate the war has caused 150,000 casualties on each side. In tonight's other news, North Korea fired ballistic missiles on Monday, its second weapons test in 48 hours, which Pyongyang said was a drill for a rocket launcher capable of a tactical nuclear attack that could take out entire enemy air bases. Pyongyang had already tested one of the most powerful intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, on Saturday and then warned more was to come, with leader Kim Jong-un's powerful sister even calling the Pacific the North's firing range. At the UN, officials condemned the launch. Take a look.
The situation on the Korean Peninsula continues to head in the wrong direction. Tensions continue to increase due to the negative action-reaction cycle with no off-ramps in sight. The Secretary General deeply regrets the divisions that have prevented the international community from acting on the DPRK, as well as on other threats to peace and security around the world. The Korean Peninsula must be an area for cooperation. DPRK needs to take immediate steps to resume dialogue leading to sustainable peace and the complete and verifiable denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
In concluding, Japan once again urges North Korea to immediately and fully comply with all relevant resolutions and to engage in diplomacy toward denuclearization and accept the repeated offers of dialogue by countries concerned.
美国及其有关国家一面推动讨论朝核问题，一面却推卸自身责任，在亚太地区公然开展有违不扩散核武器条约目的和宗旨，导致武器及核材料扩散的核合作，甚至还意图在地区复制核共享。这些行为难道不是明目张胆的核扩散吗？这种选择性的防扩散做法，不仅对半岛无核化进程造成严重的负面影响，还将严重加剧地区爆发军事冲突的风险，值得高度警惕。
There are no excuses for the DPRK's illicit nuclear and missile provocations. The DPRK has recklessly developed its WMD program for decades according to their plan, regardless of our military exercises or regardless of our policy toward the DPRK. Any attempt to blame the so-called both sides for the current tension on the peninsula is illogical, groundless, and therefore unacceptable. Speaking on behalf of the DPRK, while attempting to justify its behavior, only contributes to emboldening Pyongyang and further building up the DPRK's nuclear arsenal.
This weekend's ICBM launch poses a threat not only to the region, but also to international peace and security. In particular, it demonstrably undermines nuclear nonproliferation across the globe. The United States and 9 countries remain fully committed to diplomacy and continue to call on the DPRK to return to dialogue.
Meanwhile, Mr. Go Myung-hyun, a researcher at the ASEAN Institute for Policy Studies, commented on the latest ICBM launches carried out by North Korea. Let's listen in.
And this is to show 2 things. One is to reinforce the message that North Korea tried to send through the ICBM test, which is that North Korea has a full spectrum capability to target any kind of important assets and cities that are located in this region, and also to show that North Korea can also threaten the South Korea and Japan. Today's launches show that indeed South Korea and by extension Japan are within the target list of North Korea. The possible explanation for this is probably because The United States is right now distracted by what's going on in Europe, in Ukraine, and therefore the United Nations Security Council is unable to respond to North Korean provocations with sanctions. So there's a window opportunity for North Korea to violate the international norms against this kind of test. So we are going to see a repetition of the pattern that we have seen last year, which is several or like a high frequency of North Korean missile tests. On the other hand, whether these kind of activities are going to lead to an escalation, actually I doubt it. You have to take or understand North Korean missile launches not as a provocation that tries to cause an escalatory response from South Korea or the United States, but rather as a way to reinforce the strategic signaling that North Korea wants to send to the United States, that North Korea is now a nuclear and missile power, and therefore.
An official of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, is urging the youth leaders in India and Southeast Asia to make a big difference by harnessing their skills and capabilities to help in the advancement of peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. Here's ASEAN Secretary General Kao Kim Yorn. Take a look.
Events such as this are crucial to providing our youth with a platform to exchange their ideas and perspectives on the pertinent issues facing our world today. I believe that the regular participation of youth in global and regional fora will bring tangible results in cultivating good knowledge, values, and fostering spirit among our young people. Under Indonesia's ASEAN Chairmanship this year, our region will focus on a number of priority areas, including food security, energy security, global health architecture, financial stability, and mainstreaming of the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific. In realizing the shared goals of ASEAN and India, it is crucial that the youth, as our current and future leaders, are equipped with needed skills, capabilities, and values that will further contribute to the advancement of peace and prosperity in the region and beyond.
With the theme strengthening ASEAN-India partnership in the Indo-Pacific, the ASEAN-India Summit, he said, could serve as a platform for 175 youth leaders to exchange ideas and perspectives and other important issues facing our world today during the four-day event. India's Union Minister for Culture, Tourism and Development of Northeastern Region, G. Kishan Reddy, said the summit could further explore cooperation in equipping the youth with skills and knowledge in emerging areas such as digital technology and the sustainability in economic relations, digital transformation, financial inclusion, climate change, and environmental protection. The young leaders in the fields of politics, media, think tank, education, and science and technology will discuss and brainstorm on improving various fronts that include good governing and regional development, entrepreneurship and skill development, digital partnerships for the 21st century, ASEAN-India connectivity and promotion of culture and people-to-people ties. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.